1553 for domestic. Subject just called the caller, told her there's a male at the location in the house attacking her. State's been stalking her for months.
The fall of Sherrone Moore didn't happen quietly, and it didn't happen in pieces. It collapsed all at once. In less than 72 hours, a sitting Big Ten head coach went from leading one of college football's most powerful programs to sitting in a county jail, charged with felony home invasion and multiple misdemeanors. His reputation shredded in public court records and police reports. The timeline is brutal. On December 10th, Michigan fired Moore for cause, citing credible evidence of an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. By December 12th, he was arraigned, wearing a white jail jumpsuit on video, answering, "Yes, Your Honor," as prosecutors laid out a chilling sequence of events that turned a private relationship into a criminal case.
We've had an intimate relationship for a number of years, defendant and victim, that our victim broke up with this defendant on Monday morning early, that there continued to be defendant making numerous phone calls and sending numerous texts from that time moving forward that she did not answer, did not respond to, and did not want. That eventually she presented herself to the University of Michigan, cooperated in some form of investigation there. As we all now know, defendant was at some point on Wednesday afternoon fired from his employment.
This wasn't a vague scandal or a gray area ethics violation. According to court filings, Moore allegedly forced his way into the home of a woman with whom he had been involved for years, ignored her attempts to end the relationship, escalated into threats of self-harm, and left behind a paper trail that now defines his legacy far more than wins and losses ever will. The charges, felony third-degree home invasion, misdemeanor stalking in a domestic relationship, and misdemeanor breaking and entering, immediately reframed everything Michigan fans thought they knew about their coach.
Wearing a white jail suit, we just saw images of the former University of Michigan head football coach Sherrone Moore as he appeared at his arraignment. He was charged with home invasion, stalking, breaking, and entering. He's expected to be back in court in January. But through this process, we learned, according to prosecutors, that he was in a relationship with this woman that he had the altercation with for years. That's what the prosecutors say. The defense said that he doesn't have a history of any violence, so of course they wanted him to be able to go home, which he will go home because the judge ordered a $25,000 bond, which he's already met. But this story is just picking up all over the country. Everyone's talking about it, it seems.
Power, mental health, and a system forced to respond in real time as everything unraveled. Prosecutors didn't mince words during Moore's arraignment. First Assistant Prosecutor Kati Rezmierski described a scene that was tense, emotional, and frightening. After the relationship ended earlier in the week, Moore allegedly bombarded the woman with calls and texts. When those went unanswered, prosecutors say he went to her residence, entered through an unlocked door without permission, and confronted her inside. During the argument, Moore allegedly went to a kitchen drawer, grabbed butter knives and a pair of scissors, and threatened to kill himself, telling the woman, "I'm going to make you watch," and "My blood is on your hands."
He then, at some point soon thereafter, came to her apartment in the address that is alleged in the complaint, barged his way into that apartment, immediately then proceeded to a kitchen drawer, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You ruined my life." And a series of very, very threatening, intimidating, terrifying, quite frankly, statements and behaviors there in that apartment. It was only then, Your Honor, when the victim, she called her attorney and then at some point indicated she was going to call the police, and then he left. And so, Your Honor, while I understand that there isn't evidence to suggest that he directly threatened the victim with any of those implements that I've indicated, the totality of the behavior is highly threatening and highly intimidating. She was terrorized.
Those words, now preserved in police reports and court transcripts, became the emotional core of the case. Officers arrived after Moore had already left the residence, but located him shortly afterward near Willis and Bishop Roads in Saline. He was taken into custody without incident, transported to a hospital for evaluation, and later lodged at the Washtenaw County Jail. The court set his bond at $25,000 with strict conditions. Jeep's tether continuation of mental health treatment. A second evaluation was ordered. A probable cause conference is scheduled for January 22nd. Moore's attorney declined to comment on his mental state or where he would stay after posting bond. And just like that, the narrative hardened. This wasn't rumor or speculation. It was a documented criminal case with real charges, real restrictions, and real consequences. What this really means is that Michigan didn't just fire a coach. It detonated an entire leadership structure under intense public scrutiny. Interim President Domenico Grasso moved fast, telling faculty and students that Moore was immediately terminated once his alleged conduct came to light. The university confirmed an internal investigation is ongoing, while the Michigan Board of Regents authorized an expanded, open-ended probe into the athletic department's handling of the situation. That investigation will be led by Jenner and Block, the same law firm Michigan used during past leadership scandals involving the university's provost and president. The parallels are impossible to ignore. In 2020, it was a provost accused of misconduct. In 2022, it was the university president. In 2025, it's the head football coach. Each time, Michigan leaned on policy number 201.97, a rule created after earlier scandals that bans most supervisor-employee relationships. Moore's alleged violation of that policy, combined with supporting evidence provided by the woman involved, allowed the university to fire him for cause and walk away from nearly before the situation reached a breaking point.
I got a chance to speak to someone who brought up allegations that there was a scandal involving Moore 10 days ago. His name is Robert Carrion. He used to play for the University of Michigan back in the 70s, but says he knows people that are very close to this, and he also claimed that just about everyone, he said, really knew that this had been happening, and it was happening in broad daylight. I did get a chance to also ask this man who posted about the alleged scandal 10 days ago if he considered Moore's family when he did that. Why did you post about this alleged scandal 10 days ago?
Well, it was a poorly kept secret in Ann Arbor. I can tell you that.
Was there any consideration about what your post would do or mean to the family of Sherrone Moore?
I'm going to say absolutely not, because your question assumes that this was a secret affair. It was well known in Ann Arbor.
Reports indicate athletic director Ward Manuel was informed of Moore's mental health struggles days before the firing. Sources also claim this was the third investigation involving Moore and alleged conduct with women. None of those earlier inquiries resulted in action until the relationship ended and law enforcement became involved. The fallout spread instantly beyond the courtroom and administrative offices. On the recruiting trail, damage control turned into damage assessment. 4-star tight end Matt Ludwig and 3-star offensive lineman Bear McWhorter both decommitted, citing recent events and uncertainty around the program. Inside Schembechler Hall, players were left processing the sudden disappearance of the man who recruited them, coached them, and led them to a 17-8 record across 2 seasons. Michigan named Biff Poggi as interim head coach ahead of its Citrus Bowl matchup against Texas, a move that signaled stability on the surface but couldn't hide the turbulence underneath. Even former coach Jim Harbaugh, now with the Los Angeles Chargers, admitted he was still processing the news, echoing what much of the college football world felt. Analysts, alumni, and media voices immediately shifted to succession talk. Rich Eisen called for a football version of Dusty May, someone who could rebuild trust and culture from the ground up. Reports surfaced linking Michigan to names like Tommy Rees, while others noted that Alabama's Kalen DeBoer had shown no interest. Through it all, Michigan football's official social media remained mostly silent until a single post appeared. Focused on the game, the message was clear, but the subtext was louder. Focus was necessary because distraction was unavoidable. By the end of the week, Sherrone Moore was out of jail, having posted bond but far from free. His movements are monitored. His contact with the alleged victim is prohibited. His future in coaching is effectively frozen, pending the outcome of a criminal case that will define how history remembers him. This story is no longer about play calling, recruiting rankings, or bowl matchups. It's about what happens when power, secrecy, emotional collapse, and institutional pressure collide in public. Michigan is left confronting its third major leadership scandal in 5 years, while Moore faces charges that could follow him long after the headlines fade. The court process will play out slowly, but the verdict in the court of public opinion has already reshaped a legacy. What once looked like a rising star in college football, now behavior becomes a public reckoning.